Good morning, everyone. Nice to be in the northern section of the southeast today. So, as Wynn said, I'm at the LSU AGCenter in Hammond, and we've been doing ornamental horticulture work in Hammond really about the last 10 years. Prior to that, the research station in Hammond was mostly a fruit and vegetable crop station. A little bit of ornamental horticulture work was done there, but really the last 10 years is when we've been concentrating on our ornamental horticulture, plant trials, landscape best management practices, sustainable landscaping, a lot of pest management work. We're about 45 miles north of New Orleans, about 40 miles east of Baton Rouge. We're at the southern end of hardiness zone 8B. So we get about 60 inches of rain a year. In the last 15 months, y'all, we've gotten 105 inches of rain. Y'all have seen all the rain in Houston. We haven't quite gotten that much, but one day this spring, in 24 hours, we got 19 inches of rain. And we're flat. So we do have growing challenges in Louisiana, but we have growing challenges in every state. One of the first research gardens that we put in at the station in Hammond is named for Miss Margie Jenkins. Margie Jenkins is going to be 95 years old this September. She got into the nursery business when she was 56 years old, and she is still at the nursery every day. If she knew this meeting was in Louisville, Kentucky today, she would want to be here, you know. So Miss Margie is an icon in the nursery industry in Louisiana. You saw a picture of Buddy Lee a while ago. He lives about 10 miles from our experiment station, the breeder and developer of Encore azaleas. Mr. Rick Webb is in our area of the state. He's a native plant guru. We have a lot of really great landscape horticulture, ornamental horticulture, nursery growers in Louisiana. That's the Margie Jenkins Azalea Garden in the springtime. Of course, we have a lot of azaleas in South Louisiana. I'm going to just go through a whole bunch of plants here. I've only got 2 hours of presentation, so you know, no big deal. I'm not sure how many of y'all have rosette problems. You know, that's something that Tennessee and Kentucky have faced a lot the last couple of years. Try not to give up on roses. If you want to try some new roses, try these smaller growing drift series roses, 7 colors, 2 to 3 feet tall, 2 to 3 feet wide. Really work well in a smaller landscape. They don't get black spot. They don't get Cercospora leaf spot to any degree. They're going to bloom for you spring through fall. Really a nice series of new, smaller growing landscape shrub roses, 2 to 3 foot. And that is Sweet Drift right there, which is the double pink flower form. A little bit on perennials. This is a new variegated Hamelia, firebush. Very good for butterfly gardening. This is from Greenleaf Nursery. It's called Lime Sizzler. Fabulous in the landscape as a perennial for us. It's come back from 14 degrees. Really nice out in the garden. The Lime Sizzler firebush Hamelia. We've seen some yellow flowering magnolias today. Now, we hadn't grown a whole lot of yellow flowering magnolias in South Louisiana. We have about 8 varieties now. Anilou is one that's doing very, very well for us. So Judy Zook is one that's doing well for us. Butterfly is one that's at some of the garden centers in Louisiana. We've always thought about growing these, but we are finding that along Interstate 10 we can have some very nice luck with some of these yellow flowering magnolias. And you all are in a part of the southeastern United States where these should do very well for you. So you may want to try some of these. Another yellow plant, privet. Alan, why are you talking about privet? Y'all know what privet is, don't you? This is one called Sunshine that has yellow foliage, but it's sterile. So you don't have flowers, you don't have seed, it has no invasiveness issues. Very nicely pruned and shaped into 3 to 4 foot hedges, nice individual specimen plants. You can leg them up as a large shrub, 6 to 8 feet tall. Sunshine ligustrum, fabulous plant. Full sun, it's going to be yellow or golden foliage. If you put it in shade, it's going to be more green. So it really needs to be in full sun to really bring on the most positive landscape attributes. I like purple and gold plants. Okay. Shoal Creek Vitex, chase tree. I'm not sure how many of these you all grow in Kentucky. I saw some at a garden center near here yesterday. A lot of new varieties in these. We're trying to do a little bit of breeding on these. People don't know there's actually white flowering Vitex and there's pink flowering Vitex, although the blue and the purplish flower colors are the ones that are most common. This is 5 that are commonly grown in Louisiana, one called LeCount, one called Montrose Purple, one called Colonial Blue, Shoal Creek, Abbeville Blue. All these are very, very similar to each other and very good May, June flowering, and then usually you can get a little bit of repeat blooming late in the summer. 12, 15 foot tall, small tree, very good for the butterfly garden, very good for hummingbirds, prefers full sun. These trees are kind of ugly ducklings when they're young. You got to do a little bit of pruning on them, get them shaped, kind of leg them up. There's Flora Ann, that's one of the best pinks that's on the market. This is from Greg Grant in Texas. We've talked about hardy hibiscus today. I want to show you a few of the hardy hibiscus. I saw some of these in bloom yesterday when we were riding around visiting some of the nurseries and the parks around the area. Moy Grande, of course, is that big flowering one from Dr. Moy in Texas. And these perform very well for us all across the southeastern United States. Some of these species of different hardy hibiscus go all the way to Canada, so they're very cold hardy and adaptable. Some of them perform better the longer they're in the landscape. Year 2, year 3, year 4, they may bloom better than year 1 and year 2. This is Lady Baltimore with the pink flowers. There's another one called Lord Baltimore that has the red flowers. People want a 10 to 12 inch flower. That's what they want. You know, but like somebody was saying earlier, those big plants do have a tendency to break in the wind, break in the rain, so people are looking at shorter growers and a more sturdy stem hardy hibiscus. This is Pink Flare, the Flare series of hardy hibiscus. There's Flare, which is a red bloom, a Pink Flare, which is a pink flower, and then there is Peppermint Flare right there. And usually Peppermint Flare and Pink Flare and a Flare, usually the flowers are about 11 and a half inches across. And usually in South Louisiana, these bloom for us Memorial Day through Labor Day. That's when they're in flower. Y'all know Texas Star Hibiscus. This is another very nice hardy hibiscus you may want to consider for your landscape. This is the red flower form of Texas Star, and a lot of people don't know there's a white flower form of Texas Star. So nice perennial hibiscus of another species there that you may want to try. They do get fairly tall. They could maybe get 6 feet tall in the landscape. I usually let them come back in the spring, and after they've grown for about 4 or 6 weeks, I cut the foliage back a little bit, and that makes the plant smaller, more laterally branching. It may slow down the initial first bloom by 1 or 2 weeks, but when they bloom, they're smaller, shorter, and you have more flowers. Just wanted to show you a few Rose of Sharon, Althea varieties that we grow in Hammond, just to let y'all know some of the color availability in all of these. Aphrodite is the Louisiana super plant. There's the smoothie series, there's a blueberry, there's raspberry, there's strawberry, and there's peppermint. So, and those are from the Garden Debut program at Greenleaf Nursery. So, Althea Rose of Sharon is very popular in the lower coastal South, and you all can grow these in Kentucky also. They're hardy to zone 5. Did y'all know there's blue Rose of Sharon? Blue Girl, Azure Satin, a couple other ones. Really, really nice plants. Maybe not quite as big as some of the other varieties, but they're going to still get about 5-6 feet tall in the landscape. Here's Blushing Bride, more of a double flower form. Here's Double White. Here's Little Kim, another relatively new Rose of Sharon variety. Here's Lucy, kind of a pinkish lavender. We've got about 20 varieties at Hammond. Here's Minerva, nice plant, always very attractive. Here's Morning Star, has a little bit of the red center to the flower petals there. Here's some of the other ones. There's Red Heart. Sam McFadden is a beautiful double pink that is from a hibiscus breeder, Sam McFadden in Texas. We're working to try to distribute that variety around to a few more people. That's only recently been named. It's been around for 10 or 15 years, but nobody ever named it. And then the Sugar Tip, which was one of the proven winter plants, has a variegated foliage with the double pink flowering bloom. Are they bred to be less invasive? Once in a while you'll see a few seedlings, or I may see a few seedlings around the ground on Rose of Sharon, but I don't generally think of them as a spreading or overly invasive plant. I'm not sure what you all see here. Okay, crepe myrtles. I know we're pretty far north for crepe myrtles. Gary Knox said he was at some of the garden centers in Cincinnati the other day, and they sell crepe myrtles. Really nice bark on crepe myrtles, as Alex was mentioning earlier. This is just some of the new varieties of crepe myrtles. You can get a headache if you start thinking about all the new varieties of crepe myrtles. New varieties of crepe myrtles are being bred to be smaller, to have burgundy foliage, to have black foliage, to have a better red or darker red bloom, maybe to be more resistant to leaf spot and powdery mildew, although I'm not really sure how much of that disease resistance is actually being bred into the plants. So this is just some of the varieties that are available now. The Magic series, the Delta series, the Princess series, the Black Diamond series, which is also known as the Ebony series, the Barnyard series. Do y'all know what the 3 varieties are in the Barnyard series of crepe myrtles? Red Rooster, Purple Cow, and Pink Pig. Okay, y'all know how they market those plants? Red Rooster is something to crow about. Pink Cow is a Pink Pig, is something to squeal with delight. And Purple Cow, Pink Pig. Purple Cow is an utterly majestic plant. Okay. I don't make it up, I just report it. Okay. The Early Bird is a nice dwarf series, very early blooming, 4 to 5 foot plants. Folks are advertising crepe myrtles now as maybe a plant for this part of the country to plant and realize every 3 or 4 years you're going to get cold damage for it, but it's going to come back from the roots. So, a herbaceous perennial. Like in Michigan, they're promoting crepe myrtles in Michigan as a herbaceous perennial. So, some of these crepe myrtles may have a little bit more cold hardiness than other ones. We're really not sure. Stan Brown in Arkansas has a couple of new varieties, a really, really great dark flowering red called Freedom. And you can see some of the burgundy foliage and the black foliage crepe myrtle varieties that are in those pictures right there. And that burgundy foliage and that black foliage stays burgundy, stays black from leaf out in the spring all the way to first killing frost. It doesn't fade to green. And also a lot of times those crepe myrtles that have that burgundy foliage and that black foliage have less leaf spot. They don't get as much bacterial leaf spot on them. They don't get as much cercospora leaf spot. But they do get more powdery mildew. So there's a trade-off there. So if you're bored and want to study crepe myrtles, look up all that. Okay. And there's some more pictures. The Princess series on the left, a dwarf variety, mostly 4 to 5 foot growers there. The one on the left is a Delta Breeze, which is a burgundy foliage with lavender flowers. I like those particular plants. Hydrangeas. We're a little bit far south for some of the hydrangea varieties. Garden hydrangeas do very well for us. We keep trying to grow oak leaf hydrangeas. This is an oak leaf hydrangea seedling in the Margie Jenkins Azalea Garden in Hammond, doing very, very well. But normally when you get down to Interstate 10, you don't have very many native populations of oak leaf hydrangea. Here's some of the new oak leaf hydrangeas from USDA, Agricultural Research Service breeding program, ruby slippers. Nice plant, doing fairly well for us the last 3 or 4 years. You have more growers producing these now. Munchkin, smaller growing oak leaf hydrangea, nice flower size. And then Queen of Hearts, which is the last release of those 3. So those are planted at the LSU AGCenter in Hammond and doing fairly well for us. There's another one called Ellen Huff. Ellen Huff is a really good oak leaf hydrangea for further south. So I'm not sure how it does up here in Kentucky. I imagine it would do pretty good, but Ellen Huff is another very good oak leaf hydrangea that you may want to consider. And then the hydrangea paniculatus, the PG hydrangeas. This is, of course, limelight. Limelight's a fabulous plant, has the green flower color tinge to the petals there. If limelight gets too big for you, limelight, easily 6 to 8 feet tall in some landscape settings, you want to plant little lime. Little lime's a 3 to 4 foot cousin of limelight. And the hydrangea paniculatus take a little bit more sun than some of your other hydrangea species do. And there's a Phantom. Phantom is a really nice hydrangea paniculata that we've been very pleased with in South Louisiana, doing well for us. And those are in bloom right now. So those are just a real quick overview of a few things that we have going on at Hammond. We have a camellia garden that's been there a long time. We do a lot of azaleas. We have a new piney woods garden. We have some urban forestry work going on. We have all those different crepe myrtle varieties planted that we're taking data on and flowering information on and disease resistance on. We have several open houses every year for home gardeners and also Nursery Landscape and Garden Center professionals. So if you all ever come to South Louisiana, feel free to stop by the LSU AGCenter Hammond Research Station and see us. We're on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. We're easy to find, so come and see us. Thank y'all.